Welcome to the Casey Ingram Show, Meet Your Candidate series. No spin, no agenda, no endorsements, just the candidate. Before we begin, I'd like to thank the many listeners who submitted questions for this interview. Several of those questions have been incorporated into today's discussion. Questions are not shared with the candidates prior to the interview. If you enjoy the show and would like to stay informed on local issues and elections, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm Casey Ingram. Let's get into it. Christa Miley is running for Village of Indiantown Council, Seat 3. Welcome to the show, Christa.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So, Christa, what motivated you to run for Village Council, and what do you believe is the biggest issue facing Indiantown over the next 4 years?
So what motivated me to run for village council is because I believe that there's a lack of transparency and accountability that's going on our current council, and that's what motivated me to put my name into the race.
And what do you believe is the biggest issue facing Indiantown over the next 4 years?
Our biggest issue, I believe, is transparency and accountability, and the reason why I say that is because recently we've been having a lot of discussions in regards to constituents are concerned about our water quality. Not only are they concerned about the water quality, but they're also concerned about the lack of transparency with recent agenda items such as the FP&L, PUD, and things of that such.
Now, Christa, can you tell us a little bit about your background and a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm a lifelong or fourth generation resident of the village of Indiantown. I've lived in Martin County for a great deal of my life. My professional career, I'm in corrections. I'm a correctional officer. And in that profession, I've had the opportunity to be able to serve individuals that are incarcerated. I measure it by integrity and the ability for me to uphold the laws and the regulations that are set by the state. So I feel that with those expectations, they go hand in hand with the responsibility that I would have sitting on our present council.
So, you've also served on the LPZA board. That's given you a front row seat to development proposals. What have you learned from that experience?
So I've sat on on the Planning and Zoning Appeals board for about 5.5 years. And sitting on that board has given me the opportunity to be able to directly have knowledge on how our LDRs operate, and also the regulations and dealing with development and growth and things of that sort.
So, I called it the LPZA board. It's the PZA board, isn't it?
Yes, Planning and Zoning Appeals Board.
You said that. I don't know where that L came from. I think maybe the county's LPA or something. I don't know, but thank you for that correction. How would you approach change when moving from an advisory board to the governing body making the final decisions?
Well, I would take the experience that I learned from the Planning and Zoning Appeals Board and bring it with me going to the council, and the aspects of being able to use the information that's provided to us to, use that information when I have to be guided into making decisions that directly affect my community. And yeah.
So, if you could accomplish only one major goal during your term, what would it be and why?
The main goal that I would try to accomplish is securing more grants for our water, because water is a top priority. It affects our day-to-day living and our day-to-day life here in the village of Indiantown. It's been an ongoing issue. It's not something that just surfaced. As I stated, I'm fourth generation. So for as long as I've been born and I've lived here in Indiantown, there has been issues with the water. And I will credit previous administrations for trying to correct that, but I feel that it is still an ongoing issue, and then there's still work that needs to be done. So I would work aggressively to try to address our water conditions.
So, Indiantown has tremendous growth opportunities. What types of development do you want to attract, and what types would you oppose?
So development that I would look to attract is, well, while we have a lot of housing that's proposed for the village of Indiantown, I feel that we need housing we have affordable, but we need also attainable housing, because with all the housings that's coming into Indiantown, there's a large section of Indiantown residents who that's not affordable for them. So I would look to try to see if there are more attainable housing options for current residents in the village of Indiantown.
It's a tough one to tackle, isn't it?
It
I
is.
think you hear so much it starts with the property value and the value of property in Florida all over is just so expensive. So it's definitely something we need more of as attainable housing, but it is a tough issue to tackle. So
It is.
I wish you well on that. How do you balance economic development with preserving Indiantown's character?
So, in order to preserve the character of Indiantown, I feel like when proposals are being brought for the council, we should keep our current, well, not even current. We should keep the people of Indiantown at the forethoughts of those decisions, making sure that it's whatever we decide to bring will be a tremendous benefit to those who we are looking to attract to our village, as well as the people who are already here.
So you also brought up, the housing was development. What type of retail or commercial, if any, development would you like to see in Indiantown, and what kind would you not want to see?
Think some developments I would like to see would be a better something like a Publix, or maybe more restaurants, so that we have the opportunity to get out. We don't have to go and, if we want to wine and dine, we don't have to go outside of our boundaries in order to do so. We can spend those dollars here at home so that we're able to, help our economy here instead of going out in other cities and things of that sort.
And that would
And
bring
as
jobs as well, right?
it would, and then projects that I would be opposed to. So there's been a lot of talks about data centers, and I've been asked about data centers here recently a lot. And my response have been is that I'm not opposed or for data centers. But after doing extensive research in regards to these data centers, I will say that I'm leaning towards being opposed to data centers. So that's something that I wouldn't want to see in our community.
Krista, that was my next question. So you've pretty much answered it. I'll go into the last part of that question, and it's what concerns would you have regarding water usage, power demands, noise, or long-term economic benefits?
So the concerns I would have in regards to the water is because as I stated in previous discussions that I had in regards to the PUD, where it didn't specifically say it was for data centers, but it was very apparent that we have current issues with our water capacity. So I believe that if we have issues with our water capacity already, then bringing a data center, which is something that uses an extensive amount of water, whether it's recyclable or not, like we should have there should be a pause on that. And then as far as the environmental concerns, from my research, I've seen that there's the heat that comes from these data centers and things like that, and how they affect the community. So with that, and then the present condition of our water would have me leaning towards not supporting data centers.
So the village recently annexed roughly 5,700 acres to that's tied to FPL. Despite years of discussion about diversifying the tax base away from relying so heavily on FPL, do you believe this annexation was the right decision?
I'm going to say no. And the reason why I'm going to say no is because sitting on the Planning and Zoning Appeals Board, that item came to that board first. And there were several questions, and it was recorded on the record. There were several questions that I posed and concerns that I had in regards to the data center. And when I asked those questions in that public meeting, I wasn't able to get the answer that was provided to me wasn't strong enough, in my opinion, for me to support it. So I voted against it.
So, how should the village diversify its tax base going forward?
I feel like diversification can come in other ways, whether it be other projects. It doesn't necessarily have to be FPNL, being that, if I'm not mistaken, their tax base is more than 80% of our revenue, if I'm not mistaken. And so I would say, through bringing in new businesses and things of that sort, you should be able to diversify that way.
Now, should Indiantown continue annexing land? And if so, what criteria should be met before additional annexations occur?
Well, I would say that before I answer the question in regards to if the village should continue annexation, we need to put a pause and we need to review our comp plans along with our land development regulations and make them stronger. And then going forward, if once the criteria is stronger than and the language is stronger than what it is, if annexation is able to, go hand in hand with it, then I would say, yeah, why not?
Perfect. And you answered. I was going to ask you what the benchmark would be to tell you it's time to expand again. So you're looking at each project, looking at your revised LDRs, and go from there.
Yes, ma'am.
So, as growth continues, what infrastructure investments are most critical? Roads, water and sewer, stormwater, parks, public safety? What should be funded first?
So growth should pay for growth. And I feel that first would be the water because we don't have the water capacity. First would definitely be the water. Next, and I know that water is being it's being worked on. They're building a new water plant and things of that sorts. Next would be, I would say, traffic because even with the amount of development that has already started, we can see residents here can see the impact that it's having even with the traffic. So traffic would be next. And all of the things that you mentioned are actually important. But the first would be water, next would definitely be traffic.
How do you balance the need for affordable housing with concerns about overdevelopment?
Okay, so I feel that you would look at the composition of the current housing situation in the village of Indiantown and the makeup of the people that's here. I think you would have to factor in the homelessness, and a lot of it is due to affordability. You would factor that in, and then you would go and decide, exactly how much or how much is enough or what is too much. And that I feel that would be based on just doing, the research to see what the community actually needs at the moment or near future.
What does responsible residential growth look like to you?
Responsible residential growth to me looks like keeping people in the loop and keeping people involved and hearing the community because as individuals we may feel that our community needs the new homes and the new projects that are coming in, but if the people who are here are strongly against it, I believe that we have to hear those concerns before we make the decision to expand.
So, just a little insight into you, because that'll always happen. There's going to be projects that people are going to oppose, for whatever reason. But then you have property rights. So, as a commissioner, where do you weigh property rights versus what the community wants?
So how I would go about doing that, and I agree that as property owners, those property owners do have the right to do what they want to do with their land. But I would say that whatever it is that they're proposing for said land, should also be taking in consideration their neighbors. So the neighbors and the opinions of their opinions are should be valued, and that's not to say that you would want to hinder the property owners from doing what they want to do on their property, but everyone should be on the same page. And I know that everyone's not always on the same page, but as a board member, I would be open, keep myself open minded to hear both sides, and then weigh in on my community and how they feel, and then make the best decision that I feel that would be for my community.
So, Indiantown is one of the most culturally diverse communities in Florida. How will you ensure every resident, regardless of race, ethnicity, language, income, or background, has a voice in village government?
I would do that by ensuring that, to the best of my ability, that people are informed about the process and being involved. Because from campaigning, I'm hearing from a lot of people that in my community, which I live in the Booker Park community, I'm hearing that they don't know about a lot of the issues that are going on within our village council and like the different projects and things of that sort. And I would ask how is it that you don't know about these things when, they're talking about it on social media, people are talking about it by word of mouth, and they're just not hearing it. So I would be more hands-on, meeting people where they are, putting out information as best as I can, doing my due diligence as a public servant, making sure that these people are involved so that I won't say that so that they can't have that excuse of not knowing, but being more proactive and getting that information out there because at the end of the day, it's a community effort and everyone should have the opportunity to show up when these meetings are being had and having a say if they want to have a say or just being present in the room.
Absolutely. What would you do to improve transparency and public trust? Should there be more workshops? You just talked about better communication or maybe additional opportunities for citizen input before major decisions. How would you improve that?
Well, I would want to see a citizen board form, maybe like a board that could work with the village of Indiantown as far as making it easier to obtain public information. I hear a lot that the process that constituents have to go through in order to get the public documents is it's not as easy as maybe going to Martin County or to a different county trying to obtain the information. So I feel that we need to work better at making public documents more accessible to the people who are requesting them.
If additional revenue became available, where would you invest it first?
I would say in our water because why there it goes back to water because
Of
while I know
course.
that it because
It's a good
for
one.
me that's like a I live here, so I'm affected by it just as everyone else, I'm affected by it as well. So I would definitely say the water.
Absolutely. So, conversely, if revenues declined, where would you look for savings?
I would look inward. I would see what services are, or what services, or not even really services, but like different, well, I guess services that the village may be utilizing and things like that. See what's essential and what isn't essential and what we could eliminate. And obviously, before those decisions are made, I feel like there should be like a public meeting or something like that to talk that out before decisions are made. Talk it out in front of the public.
How should Indiantown work with Martin County, neighboring municipalities, the school district, and state agencies to accomplish goals that the village can't achieve alone?
I believe that they should be working hand in hand because at the end of the day, our local government combined with state government, faith-based organizations, the school board, we're all working to serve people. So if we're all working to serve people, then we should all be able to come together and have the people's best interests at mind while we try to help one another to help the people that we're trying to affect.
What is something about you that voters may not know that would help them understand the type of leader you'll be?
So something about me is that I'm an independent thinker. I don't need, just present me with the information, give me so that I have the opportunity to do my own research and evaluate whatever the circumstances are that needs to be evaluated so that I can hear from my constituents so that I'm able to make an educated vote and decision that hopefully will be a positive impact on their behalf.
So, coming off that PZA board again, what planning principles should guide every development application that becomes or that comes before the village?
So obviously they should do the necessary paperwork that needs to be done in order to first start that process. And then once that process begins, I believe that if there's water studies, traffic studies, and things of that sort that have to be conducted, that they should do their due diligence and taking those necessary steps in order to ensure that before their application comes to the Planning, Zoning, and Appeals Board, which will then go to the council, they meet all the marks because there's been times where I've had to vote on items where it got there and I asked questions in regards to a water study and was told that particular water study was based off of another, use for a different project. That's unacceptable. And it's unacceptable because when that application or when applications was presented, it was presented as if the work had been done. So I just feel that we need to tighten up on our standards and ensure that every applicant has to meet the same criteria and is better scrutinized by the staff before it's presented to the zoning board and before it goes to council. Because sitting on the planning board, we're depending on our staff to ensure that all of those things are done. And that's not a point blame, neither here nor there, but that's in my opinion. what should take place.
Right. Good insight from sitting on that PZA board. Developers often promise jobs, tax revenue, and investment. What standards should every major project meet before earning your vote?
They have to not only make those promises, but those promises needs to be in writing. And this was something with this last project that I honed in on because the promises were out there that they were going to do this and they were going to do that, but there was nothing in writing saying that these things how it was going to directly benefit the community. So whenever these companies want to come into our community and they want to build and they make verbal promises on what they're going to do, I think that they should be ready to have that in writing and not just by word of mouth.
Where do you envision Indiantown in 20 years, and what decisions must the village make today to achieve that vision?
My vision for Indiantown is in the next 20 years, I see that there will be a lot of growth that happens. And with that growth, though, I would really hope that it's a community that my children that I'm raising will be able to grow and enjoy as well. I hope that with the growth that will come, that our community will grow and we won't lose our character in the process of that growth, and that there will be more amenities afforded to the community that they can benefit from this growth.
Krista, you mentioned your children. There's a lot of added sports focus on sports in Indiantown right now, which is great for the kids. What other amenities do the kids want, or do you see that would be useful for them? I know there's the parks in Indiantown, and of course we're talking, the soccer and the different leagues. But what other amenities do the kids look for out there?
That's great and all, but my children are more booky and books and stuff like that. So maybe trades. I spoke to a young man when I was canvassing the other day, and he's trying to go into welding. And with the lack of guidance, he's kind of struggling to get there. So if we could not say my focus would be more so on seeing if we can get more things like trades, or not, maybe not it being provided by the village, but creating relationships with outside entities, such as maybe IRSC or something, so that we can direct the youth in another direction who's not so more so into the sports, but maybe they want to do trades or culinary, or my kids are in band. I have children who are in band. Think something like that outside of the traditional basketball, football, and things like that.
Right. Now, Krista, do you believe the village is heading in the right direction?
I do. Despite, some hiccups, I do believe that we're heading in the right direction. I believe that if the issues are addressed when it comes to transparency and accountability, if we have establish a better relationship with the members of our community, that with their help and with their guidance and us, the council people being in the right space, it'll help continue to push us in the right direction.
Where do you agree with the current council, and where would you take a different approach?
I'll be honest, there's not much that I do agree with the current council. And the approach that I would take to correcting that would be holding myself to a higher standard and remembering that I'm accountable to the people who put me on the council, and ensuring that I don't jeopardize my integrity while I'm representing the people of my community.
So, this is kind of building on the other question about the future of Indiantown. It is at a crossroads today. The decisions made over the next few years will definitely shape the village for generations to come. What is your vision for Indiantown or 10 or 20 years, and what specific decisions must the council make today to ensure that vision becomes reality?
So my vision would be, well, the housing market is there and it's been addressed. So it would have been, securing more housing for the village. And the next thing I would say would be, addressing that water issue. And then with coupling those two together, I feel that if we work hard and make just the right decisions in regards to the growth, because there's going to be a lot of growth, but when we need to make sure we have the right guardrails in place so that as we continue to grow, we go in the positive direction. the LDRs and the comp plan is something that does need to be revisited. And I feel as if we revisit those and we, get those on the right track, then that'll be a good framework to ensure that going forward we go in the right direction.
What revisions would you like to see in the LDR?
Some revisions that I would like to see would be some in regards to our environmental. I feel like from sitting on the planning and zoning board, we had to push a lot when it came to setting the barriers, and we had to advocate a lot for the wetlands to be like, how we felt would be good enough for the community standard. But if those things were already, tightened up a little bit more in our LDRs and our comp, then perhaps, there would be still some negotiation, but it wouldn't be as much because the standards would already be there.
So this is going to be a little bit quicker and a little bit more fun than these questions you've been on the hot seat with. What are 3 words you would use to describe Indiantown?
Family oriented, quiet, and the third I would use is family oriented, quiet, and rural.
Where's your favorite place in Indiantown?
My favorite place would be in my community, which is Booker Park. And the reason why is because I just like being around my people and embracing my people.
So, what is one thing you'd change immediately if you could change anything? And it can't be the water plant.
If I could make an immediate change, it would be tackling our LDRs and our comp
Okay.
plan.
And what's one thing you'd leave exactly as it is?
One thing that I would leave exactly, I don't have one thing that I would leave exactly as it is because I believe that there's work to be done and nothing's coming to my head as to what
Got it.
I'll leave it as it is.
Okay. And if elected, how will voters know you've been successful 4 years from now?
They'll know because throughout this journey, I'll do my best to bring the people of this community along with me. Every chance I get, I'll be out advocating for people to be more involved and more present and represent their community.
And Krista, last question, the one you're waiting for. Why should someone who hasn't made up their mind vote for you?
The reason why someone who hasn't made up their mind should vote for me is because not only am I a fourth generation resident of the village of Indiantown, but I truly love this community as a whole, and I want to see nothing but prosperous things for our community. And I'm a public servant. I've already demonstrated that by tirelessly being present on the Planning and Zoning Appeals Board. I've been present in my community when it comes to going out and doing community events such as food drives and things of that sort, feeding my community. If they didn't know, then that's why they should vote for me.
And how can voters support your campaign and learn more about you?
Voters can learn more about me and support my campaign by going to my website, which is Miley, ILEY, for Council, COUNCIL.com. And on that site, it'll tell them more about what I'm running on and give them the opportunity to also support my campaign. And it
Fantastic.
also has my contact information if they wish to reach out to me via email, mail, or phone. All of those contacts are on my website.
Fantastic. It has been a pleasure to get to know you here this afternoon, Krista. And I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule so the listeners can learn more as well. And I want to let everybody know vote August 18th. That is when all of our positions will be decided in Martin County. You do not need to change your party affiliation to vote. So please get out and vote. If you support Christa Miley, whatever candidate you support, you need to vote to make sure that they get into office. So that's going to be August 18th, not November. And finally, don't forget to follow The Casey Ingram Show on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube for more real talk you won't hear anywhere else. I'm Casey Ingram. Stay informed, stay engaged, and I'll see you on the next episode. And once again, thank you so much, Christa Miley, and running for Indiantown Village Council.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.